I'd like to call to order the council meeting for January 3rd, 2024. If everyone could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing after the pledge, if you would. We're going to hold a moment of silence for Miss Barbara Ewing. Miss Barbara Ewing passed away on December 24th. She was a former Springdale City Council member and I believe the first African-American on council for the city as a whole. So after the pledge, if you could remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Browder, if you could take roll.
Mr. Gleaves.
Present.
Mr. Jacobs.
Present.
Ms. McFarland.
Present.
Mrs. Webster.
Present.
Mr. Vanover.
Present.
Mr. Anderson.
Present. Ms. Sullivan-Weisskopf gave us notice she's not feeling well and won't be at the meeting tonight. All right, Council, next do we have the minutes from the December 6th meeting. Before you, there was a typo at your desk at the dais when you came in. The only change on that typo was one of the names. It just had the wrong name attached to it. It was changed to Anderson from Vanover. And with that, what's your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? I'm sorry, any additions or corrections? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended with the sheet that was delivered before the meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are approved with 6 affirmative votes. Next, communications. Ms. Browder, are there any communications for council?
None, thank you.
All right. Next, communications from the audience. At this point, the floor is open for anyone from the audience that would like to address council for any reason. Please step up to the podium if you'd like to speak. Please start with giving us your name and address, and then you'll have up to 5 minutes to talk to us.
Yeah, my name's Sam Sheffield, Crossings at the Park. I'm one of the board members with the Crossings at the Park. I'll sign this afterwards.
You're fine, yeah.
I live at Crossings at the Park. In order to enter our place, we're right over by Amazon. You have to come in strategic, and then the street going back to our place is Crossings Court. Crossings Court is littered with Amazon carts, and it happens on third shift. There's a lot of days that it's cluttered at 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they clean it up. Now, we have worked with the police department. The only ability the police department have is with the carts left out is to give somebody a ticket if they observe them. Also, I know there's been some contact with Amazon itself, and they were supposed to issue tickets to their subcontractor drivers. Apparently that's not working. It's a safety concern, it's a litter concern. Truthfully, to be honest, for it to be effective, I would think they should not be allowed to conduct business on public streets. They should conduct business at their property only. And the only way I see that being effective, if you make that a non-loading zone. Let's see if I got anything else on that. The other thing is, like some of the snow they're talking about, what if there's 3 inches of snow tonight and there's 10 carts laying out there? How's that street get plowed by the city?
All right.
And I guess that's pretty much it.
Would anyone want to address that? Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, thank you for coming in.
Well, certainly.
So the first part is you're doing the right thing in terms of, and folks are doing the right thing if they're letting us know, letting law enforcement know, letting administration know so that we can address that. It sounds like there's been some communication you've already had with
Yeah, and
regard to
actually I
that.
called the non-emergency number myself this morning. There's only 4 carts out this morning, but there's been more in the past. And within 2 hours, they had them cleaned up, as opposed to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is it every day that you see this, or is it sort of
I
sporadic?
would say it's between 3 and 4 days a week.
Okay. And so they're out in the morning, and they sort of go back and they clean up
Yeah.
their mess.
Well, I may neglect it, but it's only their subcontracting drivers. It's
Okay.
not their actual employee driver.
Okay.
It's the ones where they're using their personal cars for delivery.
Well, it sounds like there's been some contact. We will look
Yes.
into that, and we'll make sure someone gets back to you in terms of follow-up, in terms of what's going on with that. But
Okay.
appreciate you coming in. If
No,
you
certainly.
don't come in, we may or may not know what's going on. There's some things that we know about that may not be publicized, but it's always important to
Well,
come in
we'll
and give us
continue to
information.
call the non-emergency number.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll have to fill
Yeah,
this out.
make sure you put your name and address down there so they can get back in touch with you.
Yeah.
For those that don't, the corral that they put these carts in for the subcontractors are on the south end of that building. And, you know, they evidently go up, pull them, and take them down the street. And they are numbered, so Amazon should have some way of tracking those people. But yeah, that's because these carts are probably about 5-6 feet wide and about 4 feet, 4.5 feet tall. So it's not just like a grocery cart.
Yeah.
They're fairly substantial, and he definitely brings up a good point. We're heading into, well, they're talking this weekend that we may say snow, and our plow drivers are good, but I don't know if they're that good. So,
All right.
thanks.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks for coming in. Ms. McFarland.
Sorry, so just so I understand, it's the people that drive their own cars. They go up, they get their cart, they bring it down, and then they just leave them there in the middle of the street.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
For what it's worth, I've seen it after, I think one of the seniors, Dale, who's come in here before, has talked with us when they were doing the transition to building the warehouses. He had reached out prior, and we talked about that. Ever since then, every time I drive by there on the way to Crescentville, I always look down to see if there's a cart there to see it. So yeah, it's been looked at. All right. The floor is still open for communications from the audience and council for any reason. Second call. Third and final call. All right, closing communications from the audience. Next, we have ordinances and resolutions. First up is ordinance number 1, 2024. Mr. Jacobs, when you're ready.
Ordinance number 1, 2024, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of certain real property associated with the Northland Boulevard reconstruction project and declaring an emergency. Whereas the city of Springdale, the city, seeks to purchase portions of real property needed in order to complete the road construction project along Northland Boulevard, the project, and whereas the city has reached an agreement with the owners of the property to be purchased in order to complete the project. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1. The City of Springdale City Council hereby authorizes the mayor and city administrator to enter into agreements to purchase the needed portions of the real properties identified in the attached Exhibit A, which is incorporated herein by reference. These properties are needed by the city in order to complete the road construction project along Northland Boulevard. Section 2. The mayor and city administrator are authorized to execute any and all documents needed in order to complete the purchase of the properties identified in the attached Exhibit A. Section 3, council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with all applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law. Section 5, that this ordinance shall be an emergency measure necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, safety, and general welfare, and shall, subject to the terms of Article 2D, 3D of the Charter, be effective immediately. The reason for the emergency is the need to complete these acquisitions in order to meet property acquisition deadlines associated with the Northland Boulevard Road project.
All right, Council, you've heard the reading. It does have the emergency clause attached, so it can be acted on tonight. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Browder, if you'd poll council.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster? Aye. Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. Resolution 1, 2024 passes with 6 affirmative votes. I'm sorry, Ordinance 1, 2024 passes with 6 affirmative votes. Next, we have Resolution R1, 2024. Mr. Jacobs, when you're ready.
Resolution R1, 2024, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to file a funding application for Urban Forestry Inflation Reduction Act grant funding for established tree programs through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Whereas the city of Springdale, the city has an established urban forestry program, and whereas the city seeks to apply for funding through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for Urban Forestry Inflation Reduction Act grant funding for established tree programs for the inventory of existing trees and their condition of health, planning of maintenance and care of the trees to maintain the existing tree canopy, and development of planting projects to increase the city's tree canopy. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring Section 1, that the city administrator is hereby authorized and directed to file an application with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for Urban Forestry Inflation Reduction Act grant funding for established tree programs for the inventory of existing trees and their condition of health, planning of maintenance and care of the trees to maintain the existing tree canopy, and development of planting projects to increase the tree canopy. Section 2, that the Council for the City of Springdale does hereby endorse and support the application for Urban Forestry Inflation Reduction Act grant funding for established tree programs for the inventory of existing trees and their condition of health, planning of maintenance and care of the trees to maintain the existing tree canopy, and developing of planting projects to increase the tree canopy. Section 3, that the City of Springdale hereby requests the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to consider and fund this application. Section 4, that it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of council concerning and relating to the passage of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal legal action were taken in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22. Section 5, that this resolution shall be effective from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
Council, you've heard the reading of Resolution R1, 2024. It can be acted on tonight. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, Ms. Browder, if you could poll council.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster? Aye. Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. Resolution 1, 2024 passes with 6 affirmative votes. All right, moving on. Resolution R2, 2024. Mr. Jacobs.
Resolution R2, 2024, a resolution declaring intent to appropriate for public use property required for the construction of road and other traffic improvements on Northland Boulevard in the city of Springdale. Whereas, consistent with Revised Code 719.05, the city of Springdale, the city, seeks to appropriate a portion of the following properties for the construction of road and other traffic improvements associated with an improvement project along Northland Boulevard. I'm going to read each parcel number without the prefix that is common throughout the list. The prefix that is common is 599-0042. Parcel 0148-00, 400 Northland Boulevard. Parcel 0156-00, 311 Northland Boulevard. Parcel 0182-00, 230 to 270 Northland Boulevard. Parcel 0196-00, 230 to 270 Northland Boulevard. That appears to be a repeat. Sorry. And parcel 0197-00, 230 to 270 Northland Boulevard. Parcel 0193-00, 285 Northland Boulevard. Parcel 0184-00, 245 Northland Boulevard. Parcel 0188-00, 150 Northland Boulevard. Parcel 0176-00, 199 Northland Boulevard. All of those addresses are Cincinnati, Ohio 45246. The final parcel 0191-00, 11407 Landon Lane, Cincinnati, Ohio 45246. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, City Council finds that it is hereby deemed necessary and is hereby declared to be the intent of the City of Springdale to appropriate for public use a portion of the properties identified in the attached Exhibit A, collectively the properties, which is incorporated herein by reference, in fee simple for the construction of road and traffic improvements per uses permitted by Revised Code 719.01. Section 2, that any time subsequent to the effective date of this resolution and prior to the passage of an ordinance to appropriate, the city administrator is hereby authorized, with the approval of the law director, to acquire by purchase any or all of the properties, and in accordance with such acquisition to enter into special contracts for necessary services, expert or otherwise, as the city administrator deems necessary or appropriate associated with the acquisition. Section 3, council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 4, that this resolution shall take effect from and after the earliest time allowed by law.
All right, Council, you've heard the reading of Resolution R2-2024. It can be acted on tonight. What is your pleasure? I'm sorry, before that, Mr. Braun. Did you have a comment before?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was just going to explain to Council before you begin your deliberation. This is a complete list of the remaining properties we've not reached an agreement on. However, things are moving fast and furious, and some of the properties that are listed as part of this exhibit we have reached an agreement on in the past couple days. We hope, keep your fingers crossed, that the remaining ones we'll also come to an agreement on. If we don't, as I explained last time, we need to pass this piece of legislation, and there will be a companion piece of legislation at your next meeting this month that the holdouts, if you will go ahead and authorize the filing of a lawsuit against them. It's our hope that we don't have to file a lawsuit against any of them, but because of the deadlines on this project, which are January 19th, just 2 days after your next meeting, we need to go ahead and include all the properties on this as if we're proceeding full scale towards litigation on all of them. But I just wanted to make you aware there are not as many remaining as it appears, but we still have a handful. So we're working. We have a call again tomorrow morning to discuss these, and I wanted you to know we're working behind the scenes to try to close this so that this Northland Boulevard project can move forward and we can do what we want to do, which is create these improvements. So thank you.
All right. This resolution can be acted on tonight. What is your pleasure, Council?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional discussion or questions about this? All right, seeing none, Ms. Browder, if you could poll council.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster? Aye. Mr. Anderson?
Aye. Resolution R2-2024 passes with 6 affirmative votes. All right, next we have Resolution R3-2024. Mr. Jacobs.
Resolution R3-2024, a resolution requesting advance payment from the Hamilton County Auditor. Whereas Section 321.34 of the Ohio Revised Code allows a municipal corporation to request payment from the county auditor to the municipal corporation of any of its funds derived or other sources payable by law to the county treasury, and whereas the City of Springdale wishes to request advance payment of such funds from the Hamilton County Auditor. Now therefore be resolved by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, that the Auditor and Treasurer of Hamilton County, Ohio be requested to respectfully draw and to pay to the Finance Officer, Tax Commissioner, and or City Administrator of the City of Springdale all applicable funds, including real estate taxes currently available for distribution to the City of Springdale. This resolution covers the period of time January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. The following positions are designated as authorized to make a request for advance payment: Finance Officer, Tax Commissioner, and City Administrator. Section 2, that the Finance Officer, Tax Commissioner of the City of Springdale is hereby directed to forward a copy of this resolution to the Hamilton County Auditor. Section 3, it is found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 Ohio Revised Code and the rules of this council adopted in accordance therewith. Section 4, that this resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
All right, Council, you've heard the reading of Resolution R3-2024. It can be acted on tonight. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Browder, if you could poll council.
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster? Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. Resolution R3 2024 passes with 6 affirmative votes. All right. Lastly, we have Resolution R4 2024. Mr. Jacobs.
Resolution R4 2024, a resolution authorizing the investment of municipal funds. Whereas the City of Springdale's Charter and Chapter 39 of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Springdale establish the authority and procedures for the designation of depositories for the interim deposit of municipal funds. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Springdale, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1. The Finance Officer Tax Commissioner of the City of Springdale is hereby authorized to invest any such funds of the city that are not needed for any municipal purpose for more than 90 days in any lawful security or depository as determined by the Charter of the City and the Ohio Revised Code. The determination of the cash requirements shall be made by the Finance Officer Tax Commissioner. Section 2, that all proceeds received from the investment of funds shall be credited to the general fund unless required to be credited to the fund from which the funds originally came. Section 3, that this authorization shall extend through calendar year 2024. Section 4, that it is found to determine that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code, and the rules of this council adopted in accordance therewith. Section 5, that this resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
Council, you've heard the reading of Resolution R4 2024. It can be acted on tonight. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? See none. Ms. Browder, if you poll council.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster? Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. Resolution R4 2024 passes with 6 affirmative votes. And a shout out to Mr. Vanover for picking up the slack. And Megan oftentimes does the first of our motions, so I appreciate that. Keeps us moving. All right, next we have old business. Is there any old business anyone on council would like to bring forward? Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take a moment to ask residents that as they find circumstances, particularly in and around Heritage Hill, where there may be nails or information regarding anything with regard to folks throwing nails, please contact the police department. It's important that we get that information in and that we can notify law enforcement as well as our public works so we can clean it up and we can investigate it. But it's very important that when those things come up that folks contact the city so that we can look at it and investigate it opposed to just posting on social media, which is fine, but in order for us to do something, we got to know. So the police department specifically needs to know the when, the where, the time frame so they can look at it, log it, and try to put that with their investigation. It's important that residents know that the city is still continuously street sweeping, walking it with magnets, extra patrols are in that area. It's multiple times a week, sweepers coming through there. I think compared to the rest of the city, the average street's gonna get it once a quarter, thereabouts. So it is a much heightened, there's heightened attention in Heritage Hill and the surrounding areas trying to address that situation. There is nothing that anyone can say that's going to comfort anyone that's gone through having to go get nails. That is not something that is a fun thing to have to go get new tires. It's not a fun purchase like a shiny new toy. But I want everybody to know that the administration is still addressing that and trying to work through that and doing so in conjunction with Westchester and Sharonville as information comes up. Those police departments can share information, but it's critical that our residents, people that come to the city, if they see something, please say something so that we can try to resolve that issue. Thank you.
And on that point, so they should call the police non-emergency number if they were to find like a pile of nails or a handful or a couple nails on the street, just so they can track it. It's not going to be an inconvenience. We want them to do that. Correct.
And from there, I think the easiest thing as we've talked about is that law enforcement can contact Public Works in terms of cleaning that up. But yes.
Good. Thank you. I know it's been a hot topic. I've seen and had a lot of people reach out. I got a nail in my new car. It had less than 2,000 miles, and I had only driven it down one road, so I knew where I got it. It was a real concern, but administration jumped and ran the sweeper, I think that same day or next day. I know I've seen police out there walking the street. It looked like they were looking for nails. So, I mean, it's not unseen. Thank you. Mr. Vanover.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. And to piggyback on that, not only if they see, but if they are continue on my lucky streak, pick them up in their tires, make sure that you know, PD knows about that, or administration. As a matter of fact, I saw the street sweeper over in Heritage Hill today, this afternoon. But yeah, it's ongoing. We hope that, you know, we'd had solved that issue, but I just got tire 19.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's real money in a little over 2 years. So that's, you know, that's that. If you see something, let us know, because we have to stay on top.
Yeah.
I did have some other things, if I may continue.
Please.
I got notice yesterday from the Ohio Ethics Commission that it is that time of the year. We have until May 15th to file our statements, and that is an every year thing, and you get to pay for that luxury. So, and they are not forgiving. On the 16th, the meter has already been running, so they will fine you. So just stay on top. You can do it online. You all should have gotten the email. If not, check with the administration and make sure that you've got it. The other thing, the last meeting we kind of closed out. There was going to be some discussion on the continuance of the invocation practice, and I just pull it back up, and I, for one, am in favor of that tradition continuing, and I will heartily volunteer myself if, you know, nobody else wants to avail, or, you know, wants to. I will, you know, pick that up and run with it.
So on that point, thank you for bringing up the invocation. It's on the list. What I thought might be nice is if we keep, I'll keep a list for each monthly meeting, and council members that would want to participate could just let me know. We can have a sign-up sheet, basically. That way people have an opportunity but not an obligation to participate. And I'm sure between Tom and I, we can cover any open meetings where if there isn't a volunteer ahead of time. One thing that I think is worth mentioning, at least how I understand the invocation, is it doesn't have to be you. You're welcome to engage community members to come in and give that same type of invocation. It's a way that you can connect again with community members or pastors or regions. It doesn't have to be religious. It could be inspirational. It just should be short and focus us on the work at hand is the only guideline that we generally do. We can certainly create rules and make it more formal if we need to. I'm proposing that we just go with an informal sign-up sheet that I'll maintain for now, unless anyone would like to make it more formal, in which case we'd have to send it to like Rules and Law that makes those formal council rules. Is everyone okay with the informal sign-up sheet for now? Okay. And then in terms of frequency, we've not done it at every meeting in the past. We can certainly do that, or we could start out just having it at that second meeting where it's the full agenda. I would propose starting out that it's just that second meeting each month, and in the summer, when summer schedule would be the only meeting. Is that all right with council? Yeah. So the second meeting. So basically, there'll be 12 chances, 11 chances to sign up. Sound good? All right. And if anyone has concerns or questions after the meeting about it, we can deal with it. But starting with the next meeting, we'll start adding the invocation to the agenda, and we'll include it on there. If you'd like to sign up for a random session, just send me an email or give me a call or text. And if it's open, it's yours. All right? And then Tom and I can fall back as the catch. All right. Any other old business? All right, seeing none. New business. Anyone with new business? Mr. Gleaves.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is new business, something that I had received. Springdale Rec, they have a program. It's a 56-day challenge. I believe all of us got our email about that. The community, I don't know how much of the community knows about it, but they should know about it. And to further look into it, contact the Recreation Center. And it's a really good program. It involves fitness. There's a run, walk club, which is a great idea. It's absolutely free. It involves your nutrition, and there's nothing better than being in shape. And I think it's a really good idea. And it should be communicated as much as out there for all of our residents. So we can get it out there any more than we can, other than this, those watching. Please contact the Recreation Center. It's a great, great program. It ends, I believe, the first week of March. It starts actually this Monday. So let's get busy.
Should I feel targeted? You were looking right at me when you were saying we need to get more fit. I'm not sure if you're trying to.
I was looking through you.
Was that to me?
No, but I think it's a really good idea. Just want to bring that up. Kudos to them.
All right. Any other new business? All right, we'll move on to meetings and announcements. Other announcements or meetings? Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Want to make sure everyone's aware that this Friday at 6:30 in our new gym, we'll have the Hall of Fame induction as well as the pep rally. Again, it'll be 6:30 in the new gym. And then the SYB horse racing event will be February 24th at 7 p.m. in the old gym. Again, February 24th at 7 p.m. in the old gym. And just so folks know, it's not just the horse racing, there's also a raffle. Folks can buy raffle tickets, $15, I believe, at the rec center front desk, so you don't have to attend to win, but that money goes towards helping to defray costs for our young folks that are playing sports. Thank you.
Thank you. I know as SYB counts on that, it's one of their major fundraisers, so anything we can do to help get people out there, it always seems like a good time. It's always crowded out there. Mr. Vanover.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to have, you with Ms. Weisskopf and the administration, I'd like to call the rental committee meeting for, typically we've done the off Wednesdays, the week of the 24th. Check your calendars and we confirm that day, but I'd like to get back on that track.
Great. All right. Mr. Ewell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to announce Civil Service Commission will be meeting tomorrow, Thursday, January 4th at 2 p.m. in the council conference room. And since Megan Sullivan-Weisskopf is not with us this evening, I would like to announce Planning Commission will meet Tuesday, January 9th at 7 p.m. in these chambers.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder to use sports registration for baseball, coach pitch, t-ball, girls softball, soccer, and volleyball. All registrations now in process with that. New to the programming this year will be instructional soccer. And in addition, Martin Luther King Day on January 15th, the community center will actually be open from 1 to 9, and the administration building will be closed.
I was just about to say how nice the mics were working this time, but we ruined that. Keep going. I think we're good now. I'm not sure what that was.
I'm afraid to keep talking. Sounds like somebody's trying to break in. So I'm actually finished. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Gleaves.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. The January 23rd BZA meeting has been canceled, and there is some training for all members that is supposed to be scheduled for this month. Is there any update on that?
I believe the intent was to have it be just ahead of whenever the next meeting actually occurs. I don't know if Mr. Yu or Mr. Jones have more on that. Is that still the plan? So it's whenever the next meeting, it'd be the hour before. Your next meeting will just start an hour earlier.
Okay, well, the next scheduled meeting after that will be February 27th.
Yep.
So, thank you.
All right, still in meetings and announcements. All right, next we'll move on to communications from the audience. If there's anyone who would like to address council for any reason, the floor is open. Second call. Third and final call. Closing communications from the audience. Next, we'll return to Mr. Jacobs for an update on legislation still in development. And we'll stay with you for a recap of legislative items, so you can do it in whatever order is most convenient for you.
As you review your internal memorandum, item 1 was addressed by Ordinance 1, 2024, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of certain real property associated with the Northland Boulevard reconstruction project and declaring an emergency. That passed with 6 affirmative votes. Item 2 was addressed with Resolution 2, 2024, resolution declaring intent to appropriate for public use property required for the construction of road and other traffic improvements on Northland Boulevard in the city of Springdale. That was passed with 6 affirmative votes. Item 3, resolution, I've got the wrong number attached to that, I apologize. Is that more? Okay. Resolution 1, 2024, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to file a funding application for Urban Forestry Inflation Reduction Act grant funding for established tree programs to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. That passed with 6 affirmative votes. Item 4 was addressed with Resolution 3, 2024, a resolution requesting advance payment from the county auditor. That passed with 6 affirmative votes. And item 5, Resolution 4, 2024, a resolution authorizing the investment of municipal funds, passed with 6 affirmative votes. Requested for next meeting, we are going to have an ordinance further amending Chapter 39 following changes that were made to the charter. So we're cleaning up and addressing that language once again, and then we will be addressing the budget ordinance at the next council meeting. Unless there's anything else from administration?
We also will have an ordinance authorizing us to proceed with appropriation on any remaining properties.
Good.
And Mr. President.
Mr. Jones.
Just wanted to add that we do have scheduled introductions for the building department and Parks and Rec that will be the first meeting in February.
Great. All right. Anything else on that? All right, the next we have item 14 before us.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.